Hey everyone, happy Friday. Welcome to another live stream. I still don't know exactly what I'm calling these live streams, but if this is your first time here, basically this is a live stream where we talk with other folks in the industry who are experts on things like self-sovereign identity and global payments, because that's the industry that TBD's in, and we want to connect with everyone. It looks like Vogrock said he can't hear me. So let me just double check. Feel free, y'all, in the chat to let me know if you can hear me or not. But I'm gonna bring up our guests. They are from Auth0. Okay, cool. People can hear me. People can hear me. Just walk around today. Hey, y'all. That threw me off a little bit. I got a little nervous. Oh, yes. And Will is showing off his shirt. Look, y'all know passwords. Just a little um precursor to what we'll be seeing. But before we introduce ourselves and everything, I'm gonna ask y'all a question. I always ask a random question to people. And my question is, it's not even that serious, but my question is, do you call Twitter Twitter or do you call it X now? Let me know. To both of y'all.
So
Depends. Well, you go first.
I'm of the mind if his mama call him Clay, I'm gonna call him Clay, right? So when Twitter was born, it was called Twitter. And if it got changed, I'm still calling it Twitter, no matter what the name is. So yeah, I don't do the X thing.
I love it. What about you?
So I'm like new-ish to Twitter, right? And I call it Twitter the majority of the time, but I have caught myself calling it X because I think maybe a few months after I really got active on Twitter, it switched over. So I catch
That's
myself sometimes saying, "Are you active on X? Are you on X?" And I'm like, "Get it."
I got you.
And I got a bug.
I still call it Twitter. I've been using it for I don't know, years. Like I was in high school when I was using it. So
Really?
sometimes when people so sometimes when people say you on X, I'm like, what's X? And I'm like, oh yeah. But let me say hi to some people in the chat. I'm just gonna say hi to Vokrox. He's working on his Tailwind project, or working on learning Tailwind for his Web5 project. Hey to Learner. Hey to shoot, I just talked to you on a Twitter space. But hey, what's going on? And then also hey to Gina and to Ace. Ace said he gets your reference, and also hey to Cecil. All right. Um, and he said he's not calling anything X. Okay. Just realized.
Sure.
Um, to start off, do y'all want to introduce yourselves, just so people get to know who you are?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Hey everybody that's watching. My name is Kaya Imani. I am a senior developer advocate at Auth0 by Okta, and I actually am focusing on verifiable credentials and also the .NET community as well. So
Nice. We got an expert. What about you, Will?
Yeah, so my name is Will Johnson. I'm a senior developer advocate at Auth0 by Okta. Think I'm coming up on my third year, which is kind of wild. Like, to be honest, I've never stayed at a company for like 3 years, so it's going pretty well that that I'm still around and ain't even thinking about moving. So yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, I'm a big hater of passwords, as everybody should know by now. And probably like the second fun fact is I'm a big family guy. Love to being a dad, love being a husband. So big family guy.
Love that. Love that you stayed for 3 years too. That's an accomplishment. I've only ever stayed for 2+ years at a company. All right. So actually, I have one question, but since you already brought up your hatred for passwords, what's the beef with passwords, y'all? Why do you hate passwords?
What's not the beef with passwords? Like, I mean, you know, I get like when passwords came out, right? Or when the internet came out, we needed a way to identify ourselves, and that was like secure, that could nobody else be able to look at this, information? And a password was that, right? Usually it came from your mind. You made it up, only you know it. So it made sense then. But now, everything that we do has, become online. So now it's more passwords that you have to remember. They're always getting breached. Like there are literal websites that has common passwords that someone can just plug into a website super duper fast and crack your account, super easily. So it's not that, I hate passwords, right? It's just that they're no longer as useful as they used to be, right? And then also thinking about, with me being, like I said, I'm a dad, right? I have, wife, 6 kids. I have to make accounts for them and their stuff. So now I only got to remember all of my passwords. I got to remember, their stuff too. So it's just too much, and it's impossible for me to be able to make all of them unique and secure and remember them. So it's just that passwords aren't convenient, and more of a hassle than they, were when they first, were created.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good
You
point.
keep changing them. That's the other part too. Like they want you to keep changing them and then remember what you changed it to. And then it's like, wait, what? And then they want
Yeah.
like all of these different kind of characters and like your firstborn child and your social security number and like, all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hate, probably the biggest thing I hate, this is like the worst sentence I ever read is they make me change my password, right? Because it's been 90 days or something like that. They make me change my password. And then I change the password. And then it says, your password cannot be the same as your previous password. I hate that. Like,
That's a pet peeve for me too. I'm like, then why did the password work the first time? What are you talking about? But yeah, I feel y'all, and I feel like this brings up a point that Angie always says in some of her talks, where the web wasn't originally made with an identity layer. And I think someone else said something similar in a past stream where they're like, we ended up having to create these additional layers of identity so people can access our websites. It looks like a lot of people are relating with y'all. There is a question, and I'm gonna save it for a second, right after this. So um, I'm curious, right? For folks who don't know what is Auth0, and then yeah, let's start with what is Auth0, and then I'll ask more on like how this even has to do with passwords and SSI.
Sure. So I'll take this one. Auth0 is a flexible drop-in solution to add authentication and authorization to your applications. So basically, it takes a lot of the manual labor out of adding identity to your apps.
Love it. Profesh. I loved it. Okay, so I'm curious, right? So for me, my experience with Auth0 is like, I'm typing in a password, right? Or I'm maybe like scanning my finger and stuff like that. So I'm curious how or why Auth0 is kind of like in this SSI space now a little bit, or tapping in with decentralized identifiers and verifiable credentials. To me, I'm like, this seems opposite to the business that they're providing. I'm curious of like what's their interest in it, and like how is it helpful for their business, if this makes any sense. Like, why are they doing this?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take this one, if that's cool. So Auth0 and Okta are it's an identity company, right? At the end of the day. And we believe that digital cryptographically verifiable credentials will be an integral building block for digital identity in the future, right? So, but getting started with verifiable credentials is pretty complex. And there are a lot of new and changing standards, a lot of different vendors with various offerings. And it's really difficult as it sits right now to bootstrap like these verifiable ecosystems. So what we aim to do at Auth0 is, just like the rest of our products are pretty easy and frictionless to kind of get started, we want to make it easy and frictionless for developers to work with verifiable credentials. And especially if customers already using Auth0 or Customer Identity Cloud by Okta, it should be super easy to get started to verify or issue verifiable credentials.
I love that. And that kind of switched the perspective of me because I was thinking of it as an authentication company, but it's an identity company. And they're just providing easier ways of use for things like verifiable credentials and other like digital identity purposes. Cool, cool, cool. All right. I want to know from y'all, how would you describe decentralized, like a couple of these concepts, decentralized identifiers and then verifiable credentials? Just curious from your own perspective.
Yeah. I'll take the decentralized identifiers, or DIDs as I like to call them. I know some people do DID. DIDs is less syllable, and it sounds cooler, So I'm a DIDs guy. But basically, a DID is a way to identify yourself online without using a central authority, right? So, like my email address, it belongs to Google, or my Twitter handle, or my X handle belongs to Elon Musk, right? So, a decentralized identifier is something that I own and that I control, rather that's given to me by somebody else. So this way, I can prove who I am online with a bunch of different websites, but it can only be used by me.
That was a good explanation. And I like your reasoning for you saying did instead of DIDs. It is a lot. Plus, I think this is random and like probably irrelevant, but TBD like created their own did, and like it's called did DHT, but like Angie always calls it did that. And I think that's so
Ooh.
right?
That's did that.
All right, how would y'all describe like verifiable credentials for folks who are not familiar with the term?
I'll take this one.
Mhm.
So verifiable credentials are a W3C standard for digital cryptographically verifiable credentials. They can basically represent the same information as like a physical credential, like for instance, like a mobile driver's license, or like a driver's license, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you can have that. Some states you can have your driver's license in your digital wallet, and that would be like something like a digital credential. You can store them on your device, and it makes it more convenient and available anywhere. So, like if you go into, for instance, if you're taking a trip and you forgot your license, you don't have to go home. You can just pull it up on your wallet instead of, like panicking and missing your flight.
I like that example, especially like y'all don't even know how much I lose cards every time I go to a conference. I'm like, dang, I lost that. That's crazy. So it would be just nice to just have it in my phone. Like that's how at least for me, like Apple Pay and Google Wallet changed the game for me. I'm like, I don't need my debit card, tap and go. I'm like, imagine I have that for everything. Oh, Angie's in the chat. Hey Angie.
Yep, Angie.
Hey, what's up, Angie?
All right. Before we dive into the demo, there is a question here that says like, how do you feel about password managers like 1Password? They put most of their stuff there and let it generate passwords for them.
I personally like them. However, when you hear about them getting hacked, then it's like, oh man, then your passwords end up in the black market or what is it? Yeah, the dark web.
That's true. Yeah, that is a very good point. What about you, Will?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I like, password managers. They're, convenient. It's kind of like one of those set and forget it type of things. But usually in my experience, just when I'm out and about, it's like only like power users are into, password managers, like, people who are online, kind of like how we are a lot. But when I talk to your average person, they have no interest in wanting to download another thing, make another account. It's just not something that they want to do because their goal isn't to protect their or generate passwords. They just want to log in, right? So it sounds like it's a good fix, and it is. I'm not taking nothing away from 1Password. It's a good solution for the problem, but it isn't the solution that the people want. The people just want to log in. Like they don't really care like how they want to log in and not get hacked. Like that's all they really care about. So I feel like a password manager still adds another level of friction, that we still got to find a way for like your average user to be comfortable to say, all right, this is what it is, and let's go.
I love that. Yeah, I didn't think about that perspective of like it's not as interesting for like the average user. And then Kaya, I agree with you because that's how I feel. I'm always like, don't those things get hacked? And I feel like I like the idea of like decentralized identifiers because they cryptographically like verify all of it. So I'm like, nobody can actually steal it. It can be in my wallet that's authenticated and safe. We have a comment here that says password managers can be really fantastic, aside the fact that passwords is the thing they store. But all right, let's jump. It's funny, but let's jump into if you're ready to the demo because I am curious to see how Auth0 by Okta. I hope that's the right way, right? Sometimes I'd be saying Okta by Auth0. Auth0 by Okta.
You got it right.
Nah, you got it right.
Also, let's see how they're leveraging VCs and all of that.
So this right here. Well, first before I like do the demo thing, I do kind of want to just like talk about some of the cool things about verifiable credentials. But this is a um site that we have. It's oh man, I can't. Are you able to comment, uh, Brazil? Because I can't, because it won't let me log into my YouTube. I'll send that to you, and you can put that in the chat. But
Sure.
yeah, this is um, verifycredentials.dev. This is a microsite that we've made, and it kind of tells you what a verified credential is, talk about the use cases, and things like that. This is like an example of like a digital credential, and you can even like work through how to, how a user would use a verifiable credential. So it's a pretty cool site. But kind of like what got me excited for like certain things that got me personally excited about verifiable credentials. So one thing I really like is that you can use the verified credentials offline, right? So whoever issued the credential to you, like, a school or a university or the government or whatever, they don't know how often you use it, just like in real life, right? When I get my ID from the state of Missouri, I can go to, the wine store. I can go to the club. I can go to the football game, like wherever I'm going, right? And the state of Missouri has no idea what I've done, who I'm doing it with, or anything like that. And it's not that even that I'm doing anything wrong. It's just I don't want anyone in my business, like no matter who it is. But with digital identity that we have right now, it's not the same, right? So if you use your Google account to log into Twitter or to log into, your Ticketmaster account so you can buy Taylor Swift tickets or something like that, Google knows all of that, right? They know everywhere that you go that you use Google as your identifier, right? And again, it may not be that you're doing anything wrong. It's just like a privacy perspective. So what Verified Credentials do, it take that privacy that you have offline in the real world and brings it online, right? So you can still have that same type of privacy. Um,
I
so
like
that's
that.
like one of the things that's exciting about me. Another thing that I like is that with Verified Credentials, you have selective disclosure. So you can only present the information that you want people to know in the first place. So for example, like I said, I go to the wine store, right? So now, I show, some 18-year-old at the gas station. Now he knows, my address, my date of birth, my birthday, my height, my weight, my eye color. And of course they're not even looking at all of that like I know. But even when I present that ID, I'm just giving them a whole lot of information. But with verified credentials, if I need to, make that purchase, right, I can show them just my birthday. This is what you need to verify. This is important. So this is what it is. And then they can see that and then we can move on.
Mhm.
So that's one thing I like. And there's two more things. So the second thing I like that you can do with verified credentials is that you can have like multi-credential presentation, right? So um, let's say, I'm trying to think what's an example that uses this. I don't know. Like, let's say when you like when you renew your ID or something, they need like
Mhm.
a proof of residence, and then they need like a proof of like who you are, right? Um, so then with a verified credential, let's say you went to your utility company, you got a verified credential that verifies your address, and then you had your verifiable ID. You could take that to the DMV together and present both those pieces of information as one credential, and then they both get verified, right? And so instead of having to carry, a folder, because I don't know about you, sometimes when I go to the DMV, I got like a manila folder full of
Yeah.
like all these papers. Um,
Yep.
and then I got to remember, to put them back in the, lockbox or something like that. So if I have both of them together, I can present it. And that brings you to the third point. If I do have both these important documents on my phone, with verified credentials, I can mark a credential as no longer valid. So I can even take that information like away and says that, okay, I don't need this doesn't need to be used anymore. So I can kind of um pull it back to me, so that entity can't still have access to it. So and that's something that really doesn't even happen in the real world. If you go to the doctor's office and they're like, hey, let me get a copy of your ID, and they photocopy it, you don't know what happens to that ID after you photocopy it, right? They
Mhm.
may throw it in the shredder, but some emergency might happen and they might forget. So it also puts me more in control of my data. So that's like why I'm a big fan of VCs.
I love all the examples you brought up. I wanna highlight before you just jump in, my bad. I wanna
Yeah, yeah,
highlight
yeah.
comment. Someone said you have a right to privacy. If people assume you're doing something nefarious, that's their problem. And I also agree with you on all the points. On selective disclosure, I always give that as an example of like buying alcohol. If someone's like, they don't need to know my address just so I could buy something.
Yeah.
Facts.
Like, just need to know my not my name. Just need to know that I'm over 21. And I liked your idea or your thoughts on like the multiple credentials. Cause like let's say another example I was thinking of is like let's say you're trying to apply for a job. You can have a credential of your degree, your credential of your work history, all these different things all coming together. But I'll let you go in. I just wanted to make those comments.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're right. And those are some good examples. But yeah, that'd be great to instead of again having 47 different documents and 6 or 7 emails back and forth. You can like, here's this one credential with, you know, my degree, my past work history, address verification, all of that in one thing. Have that get signed and verified, and we can keep it moving. So um, I'm a big fan. All right. So now, just to be clear, um, what we're doing with verifying credentials right now is in what we call a lab environment. So it's not like used for production or products or anything like that. This is like for us to test and for people to test to get feedback and make sure that we're covering the use cases and what people want and everything like that. So um, there isn't like something you would use today and put on your app. Um, and so one of the things we talked about with VCs, it's stored on some type of digital wallet, usually most people on their phone. So on this verifiable credentials.dev, we also have a wallet on here. Again, this is not a real wallet that's like connected to a blockchain. So like don't, it's for demos. Don't put anything real on here if you do want to use this. So um, what I'm going to show you how to do is we're going to go through an Auth0 lab, and it's going to show you how you, as a website, can create a credential for a user. And that's basically what we're going to walk through today. So, all right, so this is the Auth0 lab instance. This isn't like your normal Auth0 account. It is specifically for the lab. I just want to make that like abundantly clear.
You're like, no, please try to use this for real. Wait, I do want to make
Yeah.
sure. Are you showing it? Or is this the a different file? Wait, Kaya, is he showing it? I'm not sure.
Oh, I think it only showed the tab. I wanted to show the window. That might be
Okay,
the issue. So
let's
hold
restart.
on. Yeah.
I'm excited to see this demo, and I think some people in the comments do have questions about like eventually going into production or whatever. Just as a heads up.
I actually just put that in Slack.
You're like, when we go into production, y'all?
hopefully we get an answer before we have to answer.
Laura, hey, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. We're just here.
Kiara.
Okay, it's back. There we go.
All right, cool. Yeah, so this is the wallet I was talking about. Again, not a real wallet, demo wallet. So add nothing real here. All right, so now I'm on the demo page or the Auth0 lab. So the first thing we want to do is that we're going to issue a credential for a user, right? So this is how you would set this up behind the scenes for the user to get access to. All right, so I'm going to go over here to the left-hand side menu, go down to credentials, and I'm going to go to issuance. Then I'm going to hit add credential template, and university degree credential is going to be the name of it. And the school, we're going to go with Acme University degree, right? Then we click add credential template. So now the credential has been created. So this is a university ID that someone can use if they want to verify that they went to this particular university. And so in order for the issuance to take place, I have to create what is called an Auth0 action. So for people not familiar with Auth0 actions, they're JavaScript functions that run in like a pipeline of Auth0. So
Okay.
this is the pipeline, right? So there's user identification, login, machine to machine, pre-user registration. There's a bunch of different like parts that you can interrupt through Auth0's login flow. And hold on. I just realized my laptop's not charging. Hold on.
Oh yeah, get that charge.
All right, I'm good. All right, so there are different points in Auth0's login flow that you can interrupt, and you can interject some code to do your own thing. So this one we're going to stop as the verified credential issuance, right? And then I'm going to go to custom, and then I'm going to create an action. So this is me creating an action that interrupts the credential issuance. So for someone gets the credential, I'm going to stop it, and we're going to run this code. So I'm going to name it issue credential, and then hit create. And this will bring us to our editor. So the code here is like hosted by Auth0, and it's off here. So I'm going to uncomment here. And each of these functions, right, has like their own like name that it has that you have to interrupt. So this one is on execute pre-credential issue. So each one of those that on that previous screen, each of them will have like their own function like this that you need to have in order to interrupt that flow. And then there's also an event object, and there's the API object, and you can use these to kind of change things, whether that's change user data or change like, if you need to like do a redirect or something like that. All right, so if the credential type is not universal credential, university credential, then we'll just return and stop everything. This is how we take the degree details from the app metadata. And the app metadata is an Auth0 thing. It's the way that you can change information about the user, but that's not information that the user can change. So this might be like permissions or something like that. And then we'll set the degree to the app metadata point degree or dot degree. And then this is how we add the claims to the credential. So if you're not familiar with verified credentials, then the claims are the information about the user, or the subject is the term that is used when in the spec terminology. And it's just saying like, like it says here, the user ID could be a name, could be an email address. It's just information about this particular user. So we use api.credential.setCredential object, and then we add in the information that we want to change. I'm gonna keep this one basic. I'm not going to change it just because when I changed it earlier, I gave me an error and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to keep it easy today to make sure everything works. All right, so then we hit deploy, and then we can click add to flow here. So this brings us back to that drag and drop screen that we seen earlier where I made the action. So I take issue credential, drag it in between the start of requesting credentials and the end, which is actually issuing the credential. So before that process starts, it runs that code that we just had. All right, so make sure that I hit apply. So now when a user does request a credential, it'll run that code. It will, set the metadata, and then it will issue the credential. So a couple of things that need to be done just to make sure that everything goes smoothly. So since we're going to make this request from an ID wallet and not like from a website, we need to allow OIDC dynamic registration, and I'll show you how to do that. So we'll go here to settings, and then we will scroll down. No, actually, we'll go to advanced and then scroll down. Then
I
we'll
like
go scroll
how they
down.
these like little like no code ways to basically issue a credential, because it shouldn't be like super heavy code wise for someone to do that. Sorry, I'll let you keep going, but just had that
No,
comment.
no, I appreciate that. Like, yeah, that's the goal. Like Kaya said earlier, our goal is to make it easy for developers to implement this thing, because not only are using verified credentials easy for users too, right? Easier and like more seamless. We want the same experience to be for developers, right? We want the developer experience to be like, okay, let's make a way that's more convenient for our users. So instead of, putting a lot of legwork behind that, then the developers can have it easy too. And the easier it is for developers, the more people are going to implement it. So it's like a win-win situation for everybody around. All right, so yeah, I'm going to turn that on, and this basically allows like third parties to register applications for your APIs, right? So, for example, this is like when you turn this on, this is when you want to communicate with something that doesn't need like admin access to your Auth0 account. So, like if you were wanting to add login with Facebook or something to your account, this is something that you would activate, because you don't need a direct connect. Facebook doesn't need a direct connection to your Auth0 account to do things. So whenever you want to use like a third party, you would activate that. And then the next thing we would do is that we want to promote at least one connection in your Auth0 tenant to a domain level. So to do that, we'll go to authentication database,
Okay.
and then click on the username and password authentication. Then go down to settings, scroll, and then enable third-party clients. And since I've done this already, it's already enabled. But you want to enable that third-party client. And then I just want to check and make sure that this app that I have in here is toggled on. So let me just check that to be safe.
Okay.
So I'll go to applications. This is just the default app that you get when you create an Auth0 account.
Okay.
And go to connections, and want to make sure that that is toggled on. Make sure the database connection is toggled on. All right. So that's everything that you would do to start it to issue a credential on the Auth0 side, at least as it stands today, right? This is a lab, so it can definitely change. So the next thing we want to do is that we need to add this tenant as an issuer in the wallet. So we'll go back to wallet.credentials.dev, and I want to go to the settings, go to issuers, then I'm going to add one. And so this, you add in the domain. So in this same default app, I will go to settings, and then I would just add this domain in right here. So copy, paste, and now this domain is able to issue credentials to this particular wallet, right?
Yeah. Interesting.
All right. And then if you visit the credentials page, this shows you like all the credentials that you're able to request from. So it's a vaccine record, employee ID, university record, state ID. All of these are fake. And then we just have the Acme University degree that we just created just right now.
What happens when you click it? Will it issue it to you, or is that it already issued to
Yeah,
you?
let's see.
Okay.
I think I need to sign up because I haven't.
Oh,
Let's see what it does. Yes, it's gonna. But
sorry,
basically, once
I
I
took you out of
check
your
the
demo.
no, you're fine. No, once I do the email and send all that, it will issue me the
Issue it. All right. That
credential.
was
Yeah.
good.
That is
That's cool. All right. So I'm gonna ask some of the questions that are in the chat. So
Yeah.
like you all like emphasize, this is right now only for demo purposes. And they're curious, like, will there be a production release in the near future?
that is a
You
great.
know, yeah. Okay. I'm curious then, what if we flip it to like what's their maybe do you all know like why they created this as a demo? Like what are they experimenting with? I hope that's not like a tough question. Like
I mean,
Nope.
um, I think that, the more and more that everything comes online in our, world is like more digital, right? And we are an identity company, right? We want to make sure that it's safe and secure for people to, use their applications. I think it makes sense for us to look into something like this, right? So I think that it's the experimenting is seeing how can we make sure that this is a good experience for everyone involved
Yeah.
because I like, passwords, while not they're still being used, you can tell that they're being phased out. Lots of people, every
Mhm.
time I talk about passwords, people hate them. And even when I'm talking to developers, when I talk to like regular, like, everyday people at a, family reunion, they hate passwords. So, um, I think that it's a time for a changing of the guard, and we want to make sure that wherever that changing of the guard is going, we want to be there with fully supported and tested solutions for people when they need them.
that's totally fair. I think both your points are fair because I remember working, especially when it's a big company. Sometimes they just have researchers just trying out stuff, seeing like, does this work in real life? We don't know. Like, there's a lot of different. I remember when I worked at GitHub, there was a lot of different like projects that we like worked on that might not have been ever going out to production. It was just like a proof of concept, and then maybe we're like, okay, we'll circle back and we'll make this even better. There's another question, and I think this might also be difficult to know because you don't know the future yet or their future plans, right? And so people are just wondering, how do they plan to integrate support for did methods? Like I mentioned to y'all, TBD recently came out with their own did called did DHD or did that. So they're wondering like, how can we take those existing identity management solutions and maybe use them into this ID wallet? That's something that is going to happen in the future.
I think that's a great question. You know, I'm sure there's absolutely synergy, right?
Yeah.
Um, but like I guess the answer is we'll see how like it continues to unfold because like we're kind of in research mode here
Yeah.
and demo mode. So like as things continue to start to, make sense from an integration perspective, I mean, I'm sure that like our product team will continue to try to integrate with what makes sense for the business.
Yeah.
Right.
That's fair. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. Like they're like, we don't know. They're still in like an experimental phase. I think this question also, I was actually gonna ask this question. I love that it came up. I don't know anything about passkeys, right? But I have heard people say like passkeys are kind of similar or they're cryptographically verified. I got every platform, even Target.com, telling me update to a passkey. Do y'all know what's the relationship or the connection between passkeys and verifiable credentials? If not, what exactly is a passkey, anyways?
You want to take that one?
Yeah, so I could see why, like, so they are similarities, but it's still to me like apples to oranges. Like they're both fruit, right? But oranges got like that vitamin C, you know what I mean? And you got the juice. You know, the apple ain't got that. No, but the same thing is that they both can be used and stored on like, digital devices, right? Um and they both use public key cryptography and creates public key and private key pairs when the credentials are created. But I would say that the similarities stop there. I could be wrong, but that's just from my knowledge as of today. I say that's where the similarities stop. Um, because with um, with the pass keys, even if you do like the biometric thing, right? It's like a digital version of your like fingerprint. It's not like your actual fingerprint or like a digital version of your face ID. Um, and it's still not the same as like having your verified ID or verified degree. Like verified credentials are specifically like real world credentials that you could use. Um, in a digital space. And then passkeys are basically a private key that you use to, verify that this private key or this credential hasn't been tampered with and it has the same owner, and things like that. So it's still secure, right? But I don't know if I'm asleep, my wife could, use my face ID and, get into my phone and, buy stuff or something like that. Um, but she wouldn't be able to get a verified credential of my ID that I got from, the Missouri, State Department or anything like that.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense to y'all.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of that, like what I hear you saying, and that's kind of how I understand it too. Like passkeys are like more of a replacement for actual passwords, right? Whereas verifiable credentials are like more of a replacement for like your physical ID and like your physical identification type of things. I mean, and there are ways where you can replace passwords with with verifiable credentials, and there's certain situations, but I don't think one replaces the other. I think there is a place for both passkeys and VCs.
Yeah. And I want to
Yeah, exactly.
I can expand too. I agree with y'all. I would say more that decentralized identifiers would be the ones that could eventually replace or be in the place of like at least that's what I think of a password or a passkey. So you would like store your decentralized identifier in a similar type of wallet, and then you go to a website and you're like, I want to sign in with this particular identity or decentralized identifier, and then it'll sign you in rather than typing in a username and password. But with a VC, a verifiable credential is just a proof of statement of some type of truth. Like I have a degree from this place, or I did work at this place, or something like that, rather than like this is how I'm going to get in to something, if that makes sense.
Right, exactly. Well said.
Yeah. And then Ciara said they should be used in tandem in my mind. Like they're both a good progression of how we use passwords and physical forms of identification right now. Now, here's one last question from the audience where I think this might be a you don't know yet just because this is experimental, but they're saying like, how are you thinking of onboarding entities? And also you all are not necessarily the ones building these tools because you're developer advocates, right? So they're saying, how is your company thinking of onboarding these entities that accept VCs? If I get issued a VC via Auth0, is it interoperable in the event the university, for example, changes authentication providers?
In theory, this would just be a theoretical answer, right? In theory, it would seem that as long as the auth provider supports VCs, then you should be able to take that with you. Similarly to the way you could with like DIDs or, and like other things. Because it's essentially, I mean, from what I imagine, it's essentially decentralized. Like you don't have to, like Auth0 isn't issuing you this credential. Your university is issuing you the credential. So Yeah,
like
as long as
the
you're
work the work of getting the credential, making the claims, and all that type of stuff is like done and created by the whoever's issuing it to you, and it's like kept on a registry. Really, what Auth Zero is doing is making that transaction like possible for those two, for the issuer and the subject or the user, to connect. But they can change that middleman at any time. We're just making them two come together, but they can change how that happens. It's not beholden to us or anything.
Yeah, I like that. Like you all are just providing the mechanism to be able to issue a credential and then to be able to store it. It's not necessarily like you issue this credential. I think another example of this, maybe this is bad or not, I don't like a bad example or not, but one example that Angie gave me that I was like, oh, this is a really good example. For example, let's say you went to like she went to school in New Orleans, right? And it was affected by Hurricane Katrina. Now your school's closed because of the storm, and you don't and have any more like proof that you actually attended the school. Whereas if that school had issued you a verifiable credential, whether the school goes away or not, you still have this proof in your wallet that I attended here. And as long as the place or institution or whatever accepts verifiable credentials, you can just show it to them. But it doesn't matter if like they're like, nah, we don't. It's not about like we don't want to work with this specific verifiable credential issue, like not issuer, but mechanism. All right, cool. That was a lot of good questions, y'all. Thank you. And good job at answering them. It's hard to answer. I know for me, it's hard to answer something when it's like it's still in the phase of being created and thought about. So I thought y'all gave really good answers. And someone said bet, thanks all around. All right, so my last couple of questions around like the technical stuff is just like for me, I'm curious if y'all have thoughts on how people can eventually adopt or how our industry can eventually increase adoption of these types of tools. Because I think right now, some people are like into it, some people are suspicious, some people are like, what's the point? So I'm curious from y'all's perspective.
You got that one, Will?
Sure. I mean, it's definitely going to be speculative, but because you're right, people are skeptical. It's like, do I want a digital version of my ID? Am I going to get hacked? Is someone going to impersonate me? Which are all completely valid concerns. Um, but I think that a way for, I mean, I'm trying to say this like a nice way, I guess. And it's not even that it's rude or whatever, but it's going to be how like most of us, even me, right? My kids, right? Most, even if it's good for us, most of us don't do something unless somebody makes us, right? It's very rare that that kids are going to be like, you know what, I'm going to clean my room, right? Even though it's good for them, right? It's very good for them to clean their room, right? So they can find stuff when it's time to go. They know where their shoes are and their socks and all of that stuff instead of it being everywhere. But unless I say, hey, you need to clean your room or you can't play Roblox, that room is not going to be clean, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's the same thing, right? With this, it's going to be, and more than likely, like the government, right, making it happen, like making it mandatory. Like there will be like power users and people who are into tech who will jump on this opportunity, but like your average person is going to have to present it with where they option of I need to do this. So I mean I hate the way that sounds, but that's just the way that me personally, William Johnson see as it being like more widely adopted.
He said Auth Zero's not saying this.
right. I agree with that though. But so there's certain things from the verifiable credentials perspective, at least, that I think would be readily adopted, like mobile driver's licenses, right? Like I would love to be able to pull up my license on my phone and just, because I'm always leaving stuff. Just like you said earlier, Rizal, like I'm always leaving stuff. Like I want to be able to what if you get your license or your passport stolen while you're out the country? Like you would want to have that on your on your on your cell phone, so that way you have a backup way to get back in the country. So like I definitely see some of the aspects of this being a little bit more challenging to adopt, but then there are other aspects that I'll be like, oh yeah, sign me up, please. Like
Yeah.
waiting for North Carolina to get on the mobile driver's license train.
Right, me too. I'm like Massachusetts. They say we're always first on all of these things. Like we were here for um legislating like recreational marijuana and like same-sex marriage, but they're slow on the mobile driver's license. I'm like, let's go. I know Louisiana has it, like Arizona, Colorado. I'm about to move to these places. Georgia.
Right? Florida too.
Oh, and Will just
I'm
sent a mobile driver's license link in the chat. I'm just post that. Sorry, go ahead, Will.
I'm just saying Missouri NDL is live. I'm just saying.
What?
No,
Somebody
how
said Georgia is too. I'm headed back to the A's though.
great.
Maybe I have to go get myself a Georgia driver's license.
Do you have one, Will? Do you have a mobile driver's license yet?
No, I do not. Like it just got approved or dropped. They just dropped it like last week. I think it's been fairly recent. At least
Mm,
I first seen it last week. I could be behind on time.
yeah. There's this one question in here. Oh, someone said you could only use it at the TSA. Aw. I mean, that's good for me because I'm always on the plane. Um, okay,
Facts.
so someone asked this question saying, like, how are we making these more accessible to those with tough financial situations? I think this is interesting because someone asked me a similar question on Twitter. And I know for TBD, right? Like one of the things I was saying is like we're trying to make our like wallet and our verifiable credentials on all our tooling still available on other like types of phones like Android. Because I know a lot of times people prioritize iPhone and that's normally the more expensive type of phone, but Android does have cheaper options. I'm curious if y'all have any insight on that from your side, but again, it's experimental for y'all. So
Right. I don't think we have any nothing concrete from our side unless you know something that I don't, Will.
Yeah, I would say the same. Like I said, we're experimental and more around like the developer experience, but I do just from my very low knowledge of like the whole like decentralized thing. It's more about giving like power to the people and for people to not have to rely on institutions where they have to pay a bunch of money. Like I believe
Mhm.
um that even like getting a decentralized identity is completely free. I remember I had Angie was at one of our events and I was like, Angie, I was like, how do you get a did? I was like, who do you pay for a did? And she was like, honey, you don't pay nobody. She
That sounds just like
I can hear her saying that. Yeah, it's free, y'all. So that's
free.
a good point. All right,
But there's
last
Google Pay wallets. So like there are Google wallets. So I don't see why you wouldn't be able to like get a credential into your Google wallet.
yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not even a mobile developer, so I can't even tell you.
Yeah, feel free in the comments to let us know what restrictions exist because maybe we're even thinking from like a very American centric, like because we're living in America. Maybe we're thinking from that perspective, but I don't know. But yeah, someone said I love how everybody likes did DHT did that. They said did that has it easy to set up for basic user. And they're yeah, so cool, awesome. So last question around like the technical stuff, and then I'll switch into like my fun questions, which is just three of them. My last question is like, what do you hope to see for the future of identity and/or authentication?
I'll take this one. So like it's funny because Will just mentioned Angie being at our developer or what was it, Dev Day at Octane, and she did a talk, and it was really inspirational. And what she said was essentially that the future of identity is decentralized. And I mean, I was inspired by that because I mean, like, what made perfect sense. And I believe that. So, like, I do think that there in the future there won't be a central authority that tells you who you are. I think that's going to be something that you own. And I feel like what our company is doing and what your company is doing and what all the identity companies should be doing is moving in that direction.
I love that. And I agree. And I think there's a lot of companies behind the scenes. They're not being loud about it. Like Microsoft, Workday, they're not being loud about it, but they're behind the scenes working on progressing towards decentralized identity where users like own their identity. And I agree with Vokrocks, where our wallet is coming out. They said we just need a decent wallet to be able to manage all these. I can't wait for the Web5 wallet to come out so we can just store all our credentials in there. Because right now I've been trying out the demo ones and trying out other ones, and they seem really exciting. Okay, last questions. These are just like the fun stuff. What's your favorite food, y'all?
Favorite food?
It's hard.
Curry and roti. I know you get
favorite. That's my favorite.
Or doubles, man.
Doubles. Yeah, no, that trumps curry and roti. Oh my god, that's so good. What about you, Will? What you love?
Man, I don't know. It's a lot of stuff, but I'd say it's like, I don't know, if it's like one thing that's like get my mouth watering and I'm like, I need to go get that. It's like a good brisket. Like ain't like nothing like a good smoked brisket. Like
Okay.
27 hours smoked brisket. Oh man. Whew.
Is that like I'm vegetarian, so I never eat it. Is that like a Kansas? Well, not like a Kansas City thing. Other people will eat that, but is that like Kansas City's like I don't know, specialty or anything? Because I know y'all are good at barbecue and all that.
Yeah, I think like our specialty, at least from when I talk to other people, is like burnt ends. That's like what people would like. But brisket's my thing, man. Whew.
But is it
I'm
burnt
gonna go
ends
get
of the
one.
burnt ends of the brisket?
That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
but I'm saying
Oh,
though, but
okay.
like when the
You like the
brisket's
whole thing.
together, yeah, with the slices, and then you get whew.
Yeah. Yeah, I love burnt.
With you.
But not more than doubles and curry and roti.
I'm trying to get people to eat it. They don't understand. All right. So next question, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
That's a good one.
I don't know, like, but ever since I was a kid, y'all remember Static Shock? Y'all know who's? Am I too old right now?
No, I know Static Shock.
Oh, okay. I always wanted to control like electricity, like so. I always thought that would be like super cool. I would never have to charge my phone. You know what I mean?
Just go that.
Yeah.
I would have telepathy because like I would want to be able to like see, look, I got like a insidious scheme that I'm planning here. I'll just be able to plant seeds in people's minds and then like listen to what they're thinking and all of that. Yeah.
Okay, I will get anxious. I'm an anxious person, so I will get anxious from hearing people's thoughts. I'd be like, oh my god, that's what you really think. But I love that you're like trying to be like a little manipulative and you're like, hey. He said, I would want to teleport or fly because yes, that's me. I say that every time. I want to be able to teleport. Yeah. I'm like, can I just, if I gotta do a conference talk, California, I want to go there, snap, go there, and then come right back to Massachusetts. All right, last
that'd be
question.
Nice.
This is the most important question. What is your favorite Beyonce song?
Ring the Alarm.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yes.
Good baseline.
Yeah. What about you, Will?
Mine is probably underappreciated, but I don't know the words. No, I do know. I do know the title. I do. It's the end of time. So don't be
until the end of time with Justin.
No. Then maybe that ain't the word. Then that ain't the title. It's not end of time. It's I'll be your baby.
Oh, I know that song.
Oh, yeah.
Love you like crazy. Yeah, that's my favorite Beyonce song.
Yeah. And what's the other one? School and Life. That's number 2 for me. School and Life.
Yes. Thanks y'all for coming with something that's not. I mean, Everybody want to say single ladies. I'm like, okay, what else? But I love it. All right. I just want to, before I really wrap up, there's one question here. Just I want to make sure I clarify his understanding. He said, in my understanding, the purpose of verifiable credentials is to enable the bartender to verify my age without revealing my address when I want to purchase a bottle of whiskey. Nevertheless, in this situation, it appears the bartender can still access my address during the age verification process. Mm, that last part I disagree with because there's this thing called selective disclosure where it will only share your age or that you're over 21. So on the verifier side, they have something called a presentation definition, and that's like, hey, this is the criteria we're looking for. We don't need more or less of that. And then I wish there was a demo before. Maybe you can go look back at, like, there was a company called Trinsic, and they did a demo where they had the issue, not the issuer, but the subject uncheck certain details about themselves. So it was like, do you want to share your name? Do you want to share this? You want to share that? And you would uncheck it. For TBD, maybe you haven't been able to implement this as yet, but I believe selective disclosure is coming out. Okay, that is it. If y'all have any last words you want to say or anything you want to plug, let me know. And then we will wrap up this stream.
I just wanted to say I seen that Cecil said that when he comes to KCDC, he's looking to get some burn ins. I got you. Send me a DM. I'll get you the best burn ins in KC.
I'm good.
Hey, there you go. For having us. I mean, I think this was an awesome stream. Really have fun. Shameless plug. I also do some live streams. I've got this series going on. So follow me on Twitter. And that my at is at Black Girl CTO. And then you can like check out some live coding stuff. So
Let's go.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Yeah, definitely follow you if you got oh, let me put this in the chat too. Definitely follow you if you want to see .NET and verifiable credentials from Kaya. Definitely go ahead and watch her. And then let me put the shorts in the chat too. There's a lot to show. Thanks y'all so much for coming on the stream and sharing your expertise. I think it was really interesting to hear about it from like a perspective of a company that we use every day. And then also thanks to the audience. Y'all got so many good comments and thoughts in the chat, and I always love the engagement. So I appreciate that.
Yeah,
And
y'all have some great questions.
Yes. Yes, love that. Thank
all right.
you.
All right, y'all. Bye. Have a great Friday.
Bye, you too.
Yeah.
Thank you.